So anyway, I want to bring up my good friend and long-term colleague, Thomas. Come on up, Thomas. Could you give Thomas a hand here? And Thomas, I think this is like the third time he has graced us with his presence, and each time he has some very exciting things. Last time he had just got some first pictures from James Webb, and have you discovered God yet, or you've gone that far back, or not yet? Still looking, but the telescope has done some amazing work, the people with it, to understand the origins of the universe, to understand our place, which is minuscule. I know we all carry around our own worries and stuff, but we are stardust, right? Is that something like that we think you are? So anyway, Thomas has just done amazing things. He's been at the University of Michigan as a School of Engineering, and he did a lot of research on astrophysics. Is that how you might call it? Yes, and he's done a book, Astrophysics for Dummies. No, he should be doing that book because I could use it, but I try to read about it. Any other astrophysicists out there?
Just physics, though.
Okay. And but you'll talk about it, right? I mean, yeah. That's Brendan McNaughton, and Hannah McNaughton, both are very successful entrepreneurs in town. And Brendan and I are part of a really interesting book group that Scott merged. Is Scott here today? I don't think so. But Scott started this book group, and we were reading kind of scientific books sitting around a campfire. So Brendan usually has a few things to say, right? Hello, Kelly.
What the book's about. It's about physics this time. So.
Oh, you're doing a book on physics.
The one we're reading.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's a dense book right there. Yeah. The last one was on Captain Cook. That was a little easier. But Thomas and I have known each other for, how long ago was it started the Center for Entrepreneurship? 15 years ago. So we've known each other that long. I remember sitting in your office. You had this vision for it and got so far with it. And it's now with the university making changes, it's hard to keep all this kind of entrepreneurship going. Good morning. How are you? Good, Ramon. Ramon, right, I got it, right. And I think we've got a ride for Thomas, so I know you had offered, thank you. Ramon is here, by the way. We do a lot with getting people in front of investors. I know there's some investors here. Ramon's got some pretty amazing programs going that he's looking for some startup investing, so I know Jim Addix is here, and you'll connect afterwards. So back to Thomas. Thomas then left the university. We did a little coaching at that point, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And it's a very big deal to leave a tenured position at the University of Michigan. And he was not sure about entrepreneurship or taking a job that would allow him to be innovative, starting his own company. And I think you've done all three of those now. Is that about right? So, but particularly his work with NASA as director of research. It's just amazing because not just James Webb, but the Mars rover. You'll mention the other ones in your presentation, but really a pioneer, true pioneer, space pioneer. I was reading this book about Captain Cook, and it's about voyages around the world, in the 1790s and things like that. And those were the explorers of those days. They went out for 3 years without really touching land. Well, they touched land, but they touched it enough that Captain Cook got killed there, but that was a different story. So I'm going to just turn it over to Thomas, and we're going to talk for a while and go from there. Thomas Verbuchen.
I just want to thank everybody who is here this morning, meeting me here at this place that's so important both to me, my family, and so many of you. And I want to tell you I'm in town because my daughter is graduating college. So yeah, I'm excited for her, for all of us. And what I did is after I went from the University of Michigan, I took a job that paid half as much than it did here by salary and consulting. And the tuition, my daughter came to Michigan, tuition went 3 times as much because of the out-of-state tuition. Kind of whether I worked here for 20 years did not count, right? It's kind of like you still pay the out-of-state tuition, which is really good. It's like when the fundraisers come, it's like, you should also give money. It's like, I already am. A lot of it. So for me, kind of this week is kind of about big circles. You know, sometimes what's interesting, you know, like you think about where you've come from, and you realize that even though you think you're going in a straight line somewhere, you're really kind of in circles, right? So kind of as I'm standing in here, you know, I'm thinking of the first time I came to the Roadhouse. I just told her the story. I came from the mountains of Switzerland. My uncle was an award-winning cheesemaker, and I sat here, and there's this guy walked by, you know, looked a little bit sloppy, but nice, and he filled the water. And he basically said, "Do you want some cheese at the beginning?" And I looked at him and said, "There's no good cheese in the U.S." Ignorant me. But of course, the reason I said that is at that point, you remember, the very few cheeses you could buy in the supermarket, which is really the only thing I knew. And he said, "Oh, okay." 10 minutes later, he showed up and put 3 cheeses in front of me, just little pieces, and I tried this. Didn't say anything. And of course, there were amazing cheeses. This is from Wisconsin. This is from, you know, like he went through it. And of course, that was Ari, fixing my perception problem. Have bought a lot of American cheeses since then, and have been here many, many times. So again, back here. And also back at the University of Michigan. In this case, I'm going to sit in the back of the stadium with many other parents, and just glad for the milestone in her life and the milestone in our lives for Michigan. So the last time I was here, I talked about the James Webb Space Telescope. Kind of the way to think about the James Webb Space Telescope is kind of speaking to your inner philosopher, right? Kind of the fact that every atom in your body is at least 1 billion years old. The fact that most of the atoms come from the kind of central parts of stars. For example, the fact that, you know, everything on my hand here, the rings, these atoms, the majority of them come from neutron stars. And how long have we known that? 6 years. There were models. Finally, we had a neutron star merger, and we actually measured the emissions of the elements that are there. So kind of, you know, so that's the inner philosopher. So today, I'm not going to talk to your inner philosopher. Today, I'm going to talk to your inner gamer. So what I'm going to talk about is achieving a goal, but with a story that has a lot to do with this. This part of Mexico looks really nice and, you know, coastal and so forth, but what's really interesting, right on top of there, is a crater underneath the water, which is 180 kilometers in diameter and is 66 million years old. It's a crater that came because an object of the size of 6 miles, 10 kilometers, hit the Earth in a direct impact. And of course, created massive changes of the Earth, and in fact, a mass extinction. The animals that were dominant on Earth to this time, these cold-blooded animals, the dinosaurs, as a result of these changes, disappeared. We know about that impact, both from that crater, which has been analyzed in detail. The Chicxulub crater has been analyzed in detail, but you also know about it because in the geologic record, there is a layer of dust, kind of rained out dust, all over the Earth that came from the atmosphere cleaning itself out. What happened there, of course, this massive impact, which is kind of bigger than the nuclear power that we have in all of our bombs, in anywhere on Earth, much bigger. That basically elevated a lot of dust in the atmosphere and, as I said, changed the climate in a way that forever changed the environment. By the way, that kind of that kind of transition happened about 5 times on Earth, kind of major transitions that almost killed all of life. And this is just one of them. And of course, you basically say, well, does that ever happen? If you ever take binoculars, look at the moon, you see the moon is full of these craters. Most of them not as big, but full of these craters. Why is the moon full of craters but not the Earth? And the answer, of course, is the Earth also would be full of craters if it wasn't for the atmosphere of the Earth, the erosion, and also the geology, which turns over, as you know, the Earth inside out because of the continental plates that are basically erasing itself. But here's another kind of event. This is just a camera looking out the front. You see an object. The guy drives down the road. It's an object that's coming in, an object that is only, it turns out, of the order 10 meters in diameter. Basically what happens is in this storage facility, things are falling off the wall. Windows are blown in because of a pressure pulse that is happening. You know, she is standing in front of a meeting or at school, and immediately the window, all the glass is shattered. And what's really interesting is, you know, like, you didn't see it coming, right? It was there. And I remember the one that took out the dinosaurs is 10 kilometers. This is 10 meters. So there's a big difference in this. So basically, well, it's close to 20 meters or so, 60 feet. So it's the equivalent of 500 kilotons TNT. It's, you know, frankly, it's incredible that nobody died during this, and nobody did, as far as we know. 1,000 plus people are injured. And of course, so you have the different sizes, and the question just really is, how often does this happen? The good news is, for anything that is dinosaur eradication scale, it only happens every 100,000 years. So it's not the biggest worry you should worry about today. You see, it's like not really happening. It's a massive impact, but in many different ways, but it's happening really rarely. I just showed you the 20 meter, the 10 meter scale event. So it's basically there, it's just a fireball, sonic boom. And of course, you look outside at night, you see kind of in the sky, the strikes kind of that are this evaporation of these particles. The vast majority of them never make it to the ground, the small ones. But somewhere in the middle is kind of more interesting. And kind of the thing I want to focus on is the 140 meter one. Suppose an object like that came towards Detroit Metro, it would wipe out the entire city and the neighborhoods around it. I mean, it's basically a regional catastrophe that is really substantial, mass casualties, and of course we think there's roughly 25,000 of them. We know about half of what they are, so we think we know how many there are just because we do statistics, and we can figure out what we have observed. So a little bit less than half we've discovered. But the question really is, could we do something about this if an object came our way? And so that was the question. So how do we move an asteroid out of the way in case we need it? So that was a question that's on my mind. I want to tell you, when I came to NASA, it was obvious that there's two things that everybody associates with NASA. The first one is, astronauts. The second one is deep space exploration. Go on Mars and have rovers and things like that. People associate that. But if you ask U.S. citizens what are the most important things NASA does, the number one is safeguarding the Earth. The number two is this. And when I came to NASA, there was actually never had there been a mission focused on this. And so for me, the question is, can we, especially because safeguarding the Earth reasons I can't really tell you why turned more political. I'm like, let's demonstrate to the US citizens that we can use our research to safeguard the Earth, in this case, from this. Something we should be doing, not only because taxpayers tell us to do so, but also we can, for the first time, kind of help us do it. So basically, what I'm going to do is kind of tell you the story, but then pick up some of these kind of lessons that not only relate to this mission, but so many of the others, kind of about, I don't know what your mission is, but something that is bigger than yourself, that is hard to do, and something that the likelihood of success is far less than 100%. Let me define what I'm going to talk about. And the first thing that when you do a mission like this, what's really critical is to agree on the why. Now, it turns out the why, like I see company pitches, and the why is on the first bullet, and you never talk about it again. The reason you want to talk about the why ahead of the first problem is because once you have a purpose that unites people, it also motivates people, especially when it's getting hard later. So as you're sitting in the mess of the situation, because anything I just told you, by the way I defined a mission, a big project, it's going to be hard. It's not a question whether you have a problem. It's surely you will have existential problems. The question is, how do you overcome it? And the answer is because you can bring back, in part, people to your why that is there, whether that's a company, whether it's a non-for-profit, or whether it's something that you build elsewhere. And so for me, as I was kind of working on this issue, and frankly, it was the first budget I had, there was a new president coming in called Trump. And the question just really is, can I, in this environment, kind of sell a mission with this? And I basically started talking about why this is important. And the biggest challenge about doing this is of course, the idea is to ram a spacecraft into an asteroid and measure whether we can deflect the asteroid. That's what we would like to do. The biggest question is, how do you actually figure out that it works? Look, I just want to just quickly explain to you what I mean, right? If you look at an object in orbit roughly of the Earth around the sun, its speed of the order of magnitude is 30 kilometers per second. So it's fast. By the way, that's how fast the Earth is. So you're not blowing off it because gravity is so good and whatever, but you're going with 30 kilometers per second around the sun as we speak, right? So what you then do is you impact a little, kind of van or a truck into it at high speed, several kilometers per second, and of course you deflect it a little bit, but only of the order tens or hundreds of meters per second. So the question is, how do you measure that speed difference? And frankly, the biggest reason that nobody had done it is because you couldn't answer that. So it doesn't help to just go hit something and at the end, you didn't learn anything from it. By the way, what's really important is, why do you even measure that? Like billiard, right? Isn't that just basic physics? Of course, the answer is, if there's no ejecta, the way this works is you hit the object, in this case from the bottom, and it moves forward. The one on the left, we could go on the board and just, the velocity is the mass ratio, done. So that's very easy. But the problem is, that is not how it works. What will happen if I hit an object? There's ejecta coming out the back. So at least that's what we hope. Because the more ejecta comes out the back, the more the rock gets accelerated. Because to a certain extent, I deposit my own momentum, and it drops other momentum out the back. So it's an amplification. And the question is, how much amplification is there? So it's hard to measure against the background of the sky, tens or 100 meters per second, but it's also hard to predict what's going to happen, because whether a lot of ejecta comes out of it or little depends on the make of the rock or rubble pile that you're hitting. And so basically, what happened is Andy came up with the idea of how you do it. Is he basically said, look, something like 20% of the asteroids are in double asteroid systems. So you read in school asteroids are in the asteroid belt. Well, roughly 20% are actually not alone. They're hanging out with another asteroid and they're rotating around it. The gravity is really low for these objects, but they hang out together. And what happens if a smaller object goes around a bigger object, it's a lot easier to measure the impact. Because what I now do, the speed of that is only tenths of meters per second or 100 meters per second, because gravity is so much lower than the sun's gravity. Even though they're closer, so much slower. So if I hit it here, it's a lot easier to detect than in a double asteroid system than a single asteroid alone. So Andy came up with that idea, and I want to just kind of pick that up. Kind of, for a leader, the goal is not to have the best idea in the room. It's to figure out what the best idea is in the room and work on that. So in great teams, the best ideas usually often do not originate with the boss. I had this humbling experience when I looked at, I've done a number of things that I'm really proud of. I wrote them all down. 80% of them were not my idea. And at the beginning, I'm like, well, I'm not good with ideas. And I'm like, no, I'm actually really glad. I wish the best ideas come, or I see the best ideas in an environment for people that have these amazing ideas. And for me, I'm really equally excited to make a great idea of you happen than my own. And in this case, Andy's idea is really what opened the door to this mission that I'm now going to explain to you. So for me, I just really, when you want to reach for the stars, do something hard. Don't get overly focused on your idea. Just work on the best idea that is there, kind of the way you can decide it. So basically what the idea then was is to build a mission. So Didymos is the name of the asteroid where we're going to hit. So a mission that takes off from the Earth and basically goes around and kind of catches up with Didymos, who's coming around the corner a little bit more slowly, and basically going out and basically hitting not the parent body, but the small body that's in orbit around it. And basically does so in late 22. So basically the launch is in November. So there's this rule around science journalists that says every NASA mission goes during a holiday. So this is a day before Thanksgiving, as you know. So basically, anyway, my family thought that too. So we're basically launching and trying to hit. And again, the idea for that came from Andy. So what I did is when I stood, here's Andy's idea. I really would like to demonstrate this capability. It's the first time in history we can demonstrate the ability of getting rid of an asteroid. What I told the team is we're only going to do that if we actually try to take an image. The team immediately tells me we don't need to take an image. Because see, if the little guy is in orbit around the big object, all we need to measure is the change of orbit. That's the velocity change, and we can do that from the ground. I said, it's fine, but we're still taking an image. And they said, well, we're not doing the mission if we're not taking an image. And I don't care whether it's successful, but we're going to try. And of course, how do you explain that you're not even trying? For the first time in history, you're hitting an asteroid with a spacecraft, you're not even trying to take an image. And for me, it's just how do you explain it? By the way, I don't care whether it's not working, but we're going to try. Because when we're making history, let's try to do it the right way. Lean forward, and I don't know how. And so basically what happened is they took me seriously. They should have. I would not have done the mission without trying, because for me, I think what's really important is when we're achieving goals, we want to aim high. Like, let's actually try to do the right thing. This reminds me of the dentist. The sound next to it, like really uncomfortable right now. Anyway, so when achieving goals, we want to aim high. And for me, what's really important is kind of a principle that I always tell our teams. It's 80% of a huge goal is much better than 100% of a small one. And so for me, as we're trying this, let's try to imagine something. In this case, by the way, because it's so risky to go try take an image, I always think the taxpayer, we don't want to make the image kind of a large fraction of the cost because it's not absolutely necessary. So we did it for almost nothing, but we're trying, right? What we managed is actually found somewhere on Earth, like in Italy, a spacecraft that was built already, and all we needed to do is eject it. Like say, hey, do you ever wanted to take an image of an asteroid that's being hit by, yes, Italy. We've never done a deep space mission. Can we just ride along? It's like, sure. Can we get your spacecraft for free? And the answer is yes. So for me, stretching the team was really important. Of course, you saw we started this mission in 2018. Was in the budget in 2017. Immediately got it. Everybody was really excited. And we immediately started. And of course, the way the asteroid it's not waiting for the budget cycle. So you're doing that. The next opportunity is like 2 years later. Usually you have to pay for a standing team. For this one, the team is not that big, but it's probably still many tens of millions of dollars if you miss and have to do a second time. So for me, it's like we're going for it, right? And we had immediate problems technically because the spacecraft need to be done fast, but we also had problems because of that virus, because all of a sudden we could not work in person because of COVID. Many of the companies, frankly, had supply chain issues and so forth. So what is shown here is the camera that we put on top of it. The camera, frankly, had major issues. And I remember sitting in the room and kind of with agony tracking that. So see, the camera is two things. First of all, the camera takes images of the object you're going to hit. By the way, the object is so small we've never seen it. We also have not seen a dot from Earth. It's only 140 meters. But it's so small, but we've seen that it moves the big object up and down. So we know where it is and how heavy, relatively how heavy it is, but we've never seen it. So we want to take an image. The camera is also the target camera. Without the camera working, you're not going to hit it. So literally what we're doing is using the technology of a guided missile, right? Kind of it's zooming in with a good application of AI in this case, right? So we're training it, zooming in into the mission all by itself and hitting it. The other problem we had is that the solar panels was a company that built rollout solar panels. They were struggling. Frankly, they were late. And frankly, it was not possible to frankly get the solar panels and the camera on. And I was with agony watching it. Now, the one thing I didn't tell you when I showed you the date, there were actually twice we could launch and go around the Earth one more time. And we wanted to go on the earliest mission, on the earliest window, go around the Earth one more time, because the simple principle always is the faster you can launch, the better, because your cost drops, because no technicians anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like you put them on the next mission, kind of your cost drops, and frankly, also politically, it's better. You just kind of things in space are safer than on the ground. Generally speaking, so basically, he wanted to go fast, but what the challenge was is, frankly, what the challenge was is because of the camera, because of this, we had a major struggle, and the leaders told me, we're going to make the first window. And what happened, I'm going to show you some of them. I knew some of the students, so my former students who worked in that team, and they were telling me we're not going to make it. So the belief in the team basically was, we're not going to make it, and the leaders told me the opposite. And frankly, all of a sudden my head of comms told me, the comms analogs on the other side told me we're not going to make it either. So what I did, usually in every one of the decisions, the way a decision is made is something like that. You know, the decision maker, there's one person makes the decision. I'm a strong believer that we don't make decisions by committee. You listen to a committee of opinion makers, but I want accountability. I want to know you made that decision and you'll be accountable. And so basically the way we're making decisions is we listen, like every person has a function, a risk function perhaps, one financial, one like technical and so forth. In this case, what I did is actually once I heard, because of the team not making it, and not believing in the goal, this is the only decision I ever made without a process like this. I just made it based on that alone. And I told the guys, the leaders of the organization that built the spacecraft, go check whether I'm right. And of course, the reason I'm telling you the story is they came back and says, we checked. So I made the decision, we're moving to the second launch date, even though it cost me a little bit more money. I said, go check. Would you have made the first one? It's like we had no chance. And why did they not know? Because they didn't talk to their employees at the level of depth that they needed to. The people that knew that they're not going to make it were the technicians, not the engineers. And you have to talk to them. And this is one of those things. If the team stops believing entirely, you have no chance. Like you can't be 2 miles ahead of your troops. You're just not going to motivate them to come. You need to actually listen to them. And I hate setting the target back. And I rarely ever do it, but in this case we did it. And the reason for it is there was no chance. And frankly, the worst case is if you push, in this case, if you push with low likelihood for the first window, the likelihood that you break something on the spacecraft went way up. So the likelihood of success went down by trying to go early. And so that's what we did. Anyway, so the spacecraft eventually came together. And then, what I always do in any one of my talks, there's a launch. And so what I'm going to do is I turn off this microphone so you can enjoy a launch. You're going to help me do this. And basically, just think of it, a launch is the time where the satellite leaves the Earth. It's also a big act of opposition, because you go against the laws of gravity and win against that going into space. It's also the ultimate one-way door. So when you launch, there's only two outcomes: total success and total failure. And so let's go launch.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 and DART on NASA's first planetary defense test to intentionally crash into an asteroid.
So we're getting a nice view of the onboard cameras from the Falcon 9. So you can see it looking towards the aft end of the first stage. And you can see those engines coming to life.
So we launched, and what is happening next, I'm going to tell you, is the team just did an amazing job. And of course, what's really important, and I think for whether you do these big things, and remember in this case that the team was of the order 500 to 800 people, depending on how you count. So, but what you try to do is you step in the front when you need it, but you let the team take the credit and let them take it, because they're now ready and frankly do it better than you can. And so for me, that's what's happening. So what you're seeing now is, remember that camera that had a problem, kind of an alignment problem? 90,000 kilometers out, I remember I sat there, it's like, okay, so where's the asteroid? And then roughly a good hour out, you see one of the objects. Well, we saw that from the ground. The object we want to hit, you still don't see. Because the object we want to hit is the little guy next to the big guy that we've never seen. And what happens the last few minutes, what the spacecraft needs to do is identify this is the little guy and turn its engine and move towards it, and then hit this. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you a little bit faster than this. This is the movie. You see it's like a few minutes out. So you see how it's wobbly? It's the engine burning. It basically is burning towards it. We're totally hands off the steering wheel. This is Waymo in space, right? Or Cruise or whatever. So basically we're heading towards the little guy, and now entirely fully, and it's trying to hit it as centrally as possible. And you basically see the pictures. Oh, I immediately see it's a rubble pile. It's not one rock, right? It's a rubble pile. I go in, and this is my favorite picture because it's still trying to send the picture back, and it got interrupted, right? So this is the last want to send back picture and got interrupted. So the question is, yeah, okay, so I want to just quickly tell you, I'm going to talk about these are two Michigan grads. Yeah, so Elena was in my class as a system person, and she also has a PhD. And Ben over here is from Michigan, was an aerospace person, and they're both the lead systems people of this spacecraft. But of course, super exciting. By the way, this is the image of that little satellite. So we dropped out the little satellite a few hours before. You have to turn your head and look in the right direction. And you see what's happening here. You see the little guy lit up. You know, it's kind of the sunlight scattering in the dust. And you see these kind of streaks of material coming out. By the way, this picture has had more publications about than any picture I know in planetary science, a single picture. Because it actually turns out it's really important, like there's enough information there to actually talk about the material properties of the object with that and build models around it. And I remember kind of, I was on Italian news that evening. I speak Italian, but not that well. So like I was on some highway, the Beltway, pulled out illegally and gave the interview in it on Italian TV because it was their first deep space mission, taking this image and pulling it down. What's exciting, though, is we also, remember, we said we can see it from the ground. So what we had told all the telescopes we put on alert, and again, how I told you, when you explain the why, many people want to help. So we didn't pay a dime for any one of this. They all were looking. And remember that South African guy? I remember we hit the spacecraft. I was walking away, and this was in my Twitter, or whatever it's called now. Do you see that? This is the big object that the South Africans had seen. Did you see that blast wave? The blast wave, it turns out, was the tank exploding. So we had used almost all of our fuel steering into it, but not all. And it blast in the top and kind of blast a lot of dust out. And at first I thought it's fake, not fake. What also happened is, of course, we at NASA used every single eye we had. This is the Hubble Space Telescope. We turned around looking at it. Do you see, in this case, the streaks are much, much longer because we waited days to take the image. We did the same with James Webb. And basically what we learned is, remember I told you at the beginning, so the orbit is of the order 12 hours around, of the little guy around the big guy. If we just hit straight without any gravel flying off, it would change the orbit by 7 minutes. Our requirement was 1 to 2 minutes. We just wanted to measure. Well, it changed the orbit by 33 minutes. So the answer is, it's not really a rock. So, you know, I don't know about you, but if you don't clean and you look under your bed, there's dust that accumulates. If you accumulate a lot of dust, it's like this. It has a little bit of gravel, but mostly it's dust. And so 33 minutes is what the change was. So lots of ejecta came out very, very successfully. This is me at the end of the hit. I already told you about Elena. I did not tell you about Julie. So remember how this worked. There was a person who was in charge after the launch to get the spacecraft to a place where it could take over. The camera could take over. So it had to navigate the spacecraft to the asteroid. That was Julie. So she did a PhD in aerospace here, works at JPL. That's what she did. And then the next person, she had to take over and fly the spacecraft into the body, the right body, the small one, the asteroid. That was Elena. And for me, the one thing that I wanted to just add after these lessons, the one thing we want to do is be successful at the goals. But what's just as important or more important is that we focus on growing others, because it's not about one success. It's always about creating the capability of more successes. And I don't have to say that in a university town, but it's not about primarily what we achieve, that the people we train, are they eclipsing us in every way? And for me, that's what they did. I could not do any of these things that they did, and I'm immensely proud of them. You should know that this story is not ending. There's another mission that launched in October 2024, and it's going to be in orbit around us in December 2026, and go look how that impact changed that asteroid that we did. So the European Space Agency built this mission as a result of our hit to it. So as opposed to the dinosaurs, we can do something about asteroids. We can do something about asteroids that are 140 meters or so big. We learned that and we proved that. We did it using the principles that I mentioned, and I namely focused on the why, really took the best ideas that were out there, because we want to work on them. In fact, persevered by two things: giving big goals, but also supporting the teams as we went. And then at the end, turn over to the team and just let them do what they want to do, which is to be successful. And not only focused on one project, one goal, but brought kind of creating the capability of doing many more. And that's what I wanted to give to you today. Again, speaking to your inner gamer. I don't know. That's that game I played on the computer, the first computer I had. So I did it once for real. Thank you. All right, that's it. Thanks so much. Second? Where did you launch from? Oh, we launched from Vandenberg. That's why it's so cloudy. So we launched from Vandenberg. Most of the launches. So I launched like 38 missions. 4 from Vandenberg, the others from Florida. 1 from Kourou from the French Guiana. But most of them are from Florida. You don't have to target launches anymore. Just go for a vacation for 1 week. The likelihood is you have 2 launches without trying. So it used to be like target months ahead, and then you never make it. You wanted to take over, sir.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I wanted just ask you a few questions. And I know there's a lot of questions. What I think might be easier, since we're trying to get these on the microphone, the questions, is line up to the in front of the table there if you want to ask a question. And in a few minutes, I'm going to turn it over to the questions. If any of you have any, I'm sure we all have about 50. But Thomas, thank you so much again. Just give him an amazing hand for this presentation and for what he did. And I want you to know that my anxiety has dropped, 0.99%, something like that. I feel much more. I'll sleep better for 20 seconds tonight if we're doing this. There's no asteroids coming. But Thomas, I've known you for a while, and I've heard your journey. It's an amazing journey from your little town in Switzerland and a very kind of religiously oppressive community, family. Am I correct with that? Yeah. But what I want to ask you is to just identify some key people in your life that have bumped you along the way. We're talking about bumping asteroids, but I think when we're on our journey, we could all identify we had a moment with somebody. It usually wasn't in our walk in the woods or whatever. So could you identify some key people along the way?
So I had a complicated relationship at home. I would still put one of the key people, put my father in there, and not because we were aligned on many things, but because he was all about the values that I also stand for, right? Which is be reliable, be respectful, right? Kind of it really helped me. Like one of my magic leadership tools was when I visited a company. I still do that, by the way, today. I go there early, and I sit in the cafeteria, and by the time I meet with the boss, I already know the problems. Because people tell you, not because I want to spy, I want to know, how is it going? Like, if you were the director, what would be the things you would first change? Like, people to give you these answers, and for me, that's my father. I always learned more from the technician at the machine than from their boss's boss's boss. So that's my father, right? I think the second person is in town here. His name is Len Fisk, who I was lucky to meet at the end of my studies and who became my mentor. Basically, I came to the US. I met him in a coffee shop, so I'm all for coffee. It's a good career builder for me. I was in a coffee shop and I met him and, heard him talk about science, and I asked whether I could sit there and just listen, and he gave me a job offer at the end of that coffee after he asked me some things. But he was my mentor and just taught me all these amazing lessons. If you don't mind, I'll give you one story. Sure. Stories are good. So when I had my first grad student, and the grad students didn't do well. And I went to Len, walked in the office, and basically said, I really want to fire this grad student. He's not doing well. And he says, okay. So he leaned back in his chair, put the legs up on the desk, and said, hearing you talk about this reminds me of how many times I needed a second chance in my life. Okay, so he's a super successful scientist, very successful guy. And then he said, do what you think is right. And of course, I stuck with him. He left because he knew he's not the right fit. He did a really good career in another field, but it didn't have to end the way I did. By the way, every once in a while, the right thing is to let people go. But in this case, he needed that extra chance, and Len told me that. Anyway, so he was one of them. And then later on, right, I got to know others, and then kind of some of the real people that helped me. Kind of when I built was leading the activities to build the Center for Entrepreneurship. Many of the people I worked with, they're still my mentors and friends, including kind of my other person, Eileen Huang Sa, that I talked to an hour last week. Right, kind of. She was one of the first employees. She's very different than me. If you meet us together, I look at the world top down. She looks at the world bottoms up. But together we're a super team. And and she's been enormously helpful for me, kind of saying like, you need to focus more on operations. And it's like, you're right, I needed to. So there's a number of them, but those are the ones I want to talk about.
Next question I have, Thomas. Well, first of all, the reliability piece. I've worked with hundreds of people now who are guests here, and you probably were the best in communicating. Even though you're a busy guy, you always got back to me with texts. You gave me a very detailed information where you're going to be. You set this up. So you're extremely reliable, and I've worked with you a long time, and that's always been the case. So that's a good lesson, because you don't like people who are all over the place. And you are a good listener, too. I mean, you don't talk all the time. You're listening most of the time. But I wanted to ask you a more philosophical question, and that is, from this journey where you learn certain religious tenets, and now you've been you've been out in space, probably you've seen farther in space than, and your team has, than any human being that ever lived, and any dinosaur, I assume. But where are you now philosophically? What have you learned about some of these big questions that we have about, the origin of life, about the meaning of life, things like that?
Look, I mean, I always, before I answer that question, I always want to tell you, if I go to one of the top astrophysics conferences and I ask the top people in the world that question, you get many different answers that are different from each other. So I just really don't, but there's very fundamentalist Christian people or different religions that they're really believing as they look at nature, they see the Lord. I'm good with that. I don't have a problem with it. There are people who are the exact opposite, and there are people more like me. Kind of the way I think about it is like I look at nature, and kind of whether you look at it at the microscopic level, you look at it the largest level, kind of the more you look, the more wonderful it gets. I just looked at I was in Arizona, 2 days ago, and I went and looked at cacti. It's the most modern plants that we look at. They're only 30 million years old. Kind of so you look at their symmetries. It's like, that's just, how does that work? And so for me, I just, these symmetries, whether it's in nature, kind of the beauty of nature, just gives me a sense of awe that has been part of my life entirely. Now, I don't give that sense of awe a name particularly, but I have absolutely no problem if people call it God. I kind of doing research for me does not mean that it's not just about knowing, it's about also understanding something that's very fundamental and deep. And so for me, that's where I'm at, kind of a person who deeply admires what's around them and feels that there's a big kind of set of symmetries and rules out there that really astonish me in a way that feels superhuman.
Thank you for that. I was also in Arizona, and I noticed I'm reading a book for about 30 years called The Way Life Works, which is actually an cartoon illustrated book about the way life works, from a microbiological to a space. They don't get so much into space, but and the patterns are what's so amazing. That we're built on a pattern, and everything that we see is built on that pattern. And some of the great artists of all time, Johann Sebastian Bach is one who, understands that and creates it into art. Anyway, enough of my philosophy. But anyway, I want to turn this over to some questions from the audience. And I'd like you to come up here because we're trying to capture this on tape, and we're going to pass the mic back and forth. So if you'd like to come up, whoever's got the first question.
I'll start. Yeah.
Come on up here.
Okay, sure.
This is full exposure. Go ahead. Just walk
Okay.
right over, yeah.
Did my hair all nice. That's good. Okay. Hi. Great talk. I was wondering, when you were talking about the technicians that knew that it would fail, how did you find out from them? Like, how did you get in contact with them?
So see what happened. This is kind of I never knew that's going to be the most important advantage I had. Because I was a professor for so long here, I had all these former students that trusted me, all in the whole industry. And if I wanted to know how the industry is doing, I'd just pick up the phone. And I would never out them or never, also I never make their words actionable. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you can't trust anecdotes. You have to trust data. But the anecdotes help you think. And so basically what I would do is just like they told me, it's like this is not, I have no problem. I remember with some missions, I met with students like after their night shift, like totally tired. It's like, this is going to be so hard, but I think we can do it, right? So that's the attitude I want. I don't want an attitude that basically says like, hey, we're never going to make this, which is what they said. And then I'm like, okay, I asked the bosses, go check with your team. They didn't, clearly. So what I did is I visited and walked around, just like, and I don't ask the direct question. Like I just like, how is it going? Like, what is worrying you the most? Right? Kind of, you ask open-ended questions, and then all of a sudden people start telling you. It's like I would visit, not in this project, and another one. I walked in, came early. His secretary was there. It's like, how is everything going? It's like, it's like, oh, okay. How is he doing? It's like, oh, I'm really worried about him. He doesn't sleep enough, and he's really stressed, and I'm really worried about his health. I learned that before he walked in the door, right? And and I never told him that. She said it, but people tell you. You just, and again, do it the right way with a curious mind. People will tell you, and so that's what I would do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have one more question.
Go for
it.
Somebody walks
Give
up.
everybody
Yeah.
Think about your first name. Is
Morgan.
Morgan Burgard. And Morgan, I gotta tell you a chance encounter. So Morgan's uncle is Bill Burgard. Does anybody know Bill? Bill teaches illustration at Stamp School. And amazing. He does all the illustrations for the Summerfest and different things. And he's an amazing guy. And I met him at the barber shop. And I kind of knew who he was. And then I heard him talking to but I didn't know how to meet him. So I'm trying to get illustrations for a children's book that I'm writing about. A famous Detroit tiger named Mark Friedrich, the bird. Anybody ever heard of Mark Friedrich, the bird? Yeah. So I heard him talking about what he did. I said, that's probably Bill Burgard. So I hurried up and got my hair cut just on one side, got up and talked to him, and I told him about the book. He said, I think Mark Friedrich deserves a book, so I'll work with you. So we've been working for about 3 years, and we just sent that out for publication. So my pitch is, if any of you know children's book publishers or just general publishers, please pass that on. Matt Bauer's already passed one on to me, so you never know. But anyway, go to the barbershop. Yeah, well, in the African American community, that's the place. You go and talk to people. I mean, you see a lot of commercials where they're just sitting around there. They used to call it in the old days the hot stove league. Anybody heard of that? That's, baseball fans in the winter would sit around a hot stove in these little stores and talk about, how are the Red Sox going to do this year. So, but that kind of thing, community. And I think that one of the things that I've always been impressed with you is your ability to connect. I mean, we think of you as an astrophysicist, but you are an amazing connector, and you get things done by being open to people. I mean, I'm sure when you're in line, you're not all on your phone all the time. You're probably looking around and thinking about striking up conversations, things like that. But I wanted to ask you about something you just mentioned, your life as a balanced life. And I met your wife many years ago, heard about your children who are very young. Now they're graduating college. But could you just talk, 'cause I know you you jet around the world. Even today, you've been yesterday in Arizona, today here. And thank you for just coming for this today. And then you're going to speak later in Seattle. Is that what it is? And then when are you going to be on that asteroid? That's later, right? But anyway, could you just talk about some of the principles that you use to keep yourself healthy?
So look, I mean, I don't know whether I should talk about this because the simple reason for it is it's a struggle, right? To get the honest answer, you probably should have my family next to me. And I said, what he's saying, is it right or is it wrong? I think generally speaking, kind of my challenge has been, I do, like how many people work in the green. They put the task on the table they can do. Then there's some people are in the red, so they get nothing done because I've always been good, slightly yellow. So basically what happens is I want a little bit more than I can handle because it focuses me more. So I do better there, but it's an unstable place because kind of especially if you're optimistic like I am, you put more on the table than you can. So what I've learned over time, kind of, and what I would just basically say, to actually do great things, you need to say no to good things. And that's, for me, that's the thing that was the hardest to learn. And the learning is still going on, but balance comes from that. Part of it is also to carve in the important things first. Like, for example, workouts, they're carved in first before we do professional meetings, or family time carved in first, the ski trip carved in first before we do the other things. And so for me, those are the two things. Kind of every once in a while, I need to go through and clean up. I basically said, like, I took too much. Like, I'm just in the process right now. I'm cleaving off things, right? I cannot do all of them. And the simple reason for that is not because I don't like doing good things, but they prevent me from doing great things. And I think it's just a process. So there's certain lessons that I learned. Like, for example, I don't allow my schedule to get filled. Like, I learned that at NASA. I didn't learn it before. I learned it at NASA because I always had schedules from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, no break. And one day I asked the assistant, that was really useful, I asked her, what's the fraction of invites or kind of possible scheduled things we're actually accepting? How many people are asking, how many are there? The answer is 15 to 20%. That was such a relief. So only 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 actually got on my schedule who wanted to be. And that was such a relief. It's like, oh, let's count more. Let's count more. Because I want to be, when I meet with people, I want to be absolutely best. So I don't want to, okay, we're never going to start before 8 except if I approve. We're never going later than 5 except that I approve. Of course, I'm not done with work, but what I want to do is what we discussed. I actually want to write down or do the actions that day, so when I go home, I don't have an ever-growing stack of actions that I then have to work down during the weekend or just lose. And so for me, it's like being disciplined about setting boundaries, I think is one that really helped me. Again, to do great, you need to say no to good. And that's one of the hardest lessons. I think we have a question over there.
Yeah. Before we do, one other question. We're going to hold on just 1 second. I'll give you the mic. But here's the thing. I like to do, always bring the groups, let you talk to people. And I'm a big advocate of keeping track of lessons learned. So for 20-some years, I've been writing down, people talk about gratitudes. I've been doing abundances. And one of those abundances, what did I learn today? And the other day, I sent some of those around. I think I sent 10 of the things I've learned so far this year. I could have done 500 of them. I mean, so many things I've learned about the world, about myself. And I keep a lot of these. When I read something, I put it in notes, and it always, there it is. And I learned from all of you. I look around the room, I've learned from all of you. But I'd like to do like a lightning round of just turn to the person, maybe 3 people, talk about what you've learned, and then we're going to give Thomas some gifts by giving him feedback about how he's impacted the group. So would you join the group, and then we'll get your question in a minute, okay? So what time is it now? It's we're going to go till 6 minutes here, till 9:20, and then we're going to give you some feedback and wrap it up. So go ahead, take 6 minutes, and we're only going to talk about lessons learned. You tell people who you are. That's one lesson learned. You learn your name, so and you learn other people's names. So the 3 of you, or 4 of you, whatever, Here you go, Ramon. Go this way. There's 3 of you.
Doug was not able to come, so
Okay, you're gonna.
if we've got the other option for
Yeah,
getting him to the airport,
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
you got it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
Eric's gonna bring it.
perfect.
So you
Okay.
wanted to make an announcement, right? You want,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
we'll
sure.
get time to do that.
Okay, perfect.
So we're going to go for some thank yous here. So I think what you learned, as a speaker, that's a great gift to you. What you put it out there, what are you getting back? And you'd like to listen. So I want you to start out and say thank you, Tom, to Dr. Z, whatever you like to call him. And here's what our group, one of the things that we learned. And then we'll take 10 of these, and then we got to wrap up quickly. So we're not questions really, they're just like comments to Thomas. And I'll pass this around. Who'd like to start? I heard you, Stacy, stand up and say your name so that the camera.
All right. I'm Stacey Anderson. Our group was really learning about balance and how to have balance with our jobs, with our families, what to prioritize, how to say no to good things, to do great things. So that was really helpful.
All right, pass it over to Jim there. Say thank
Good
you,
morning.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim Maddox,
Thank you, Jim.
introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you. Congratulations on your daughter. Great work there. And Kurt and I were talking and loves how you weaved in, basically, we're all asteroids. No, we are. And sometimes you're the little one doing the bumping, sometimes you're the big one getting bumped. So, think about
I
that.
love that. That's good. I quote that one. That's going to make Dr. Rob right there.
Thank you again for your presentation. Couple things that came out of our group. One, we were all very enamored by someone with your already existing success to then go and do what you did after your time here. How there's this level of ambition and big thinking that is insatiable, and that's something that's I think we can get afraid of when we're inundated with the day-to-day fires in our business. And then the other thing that I think is really remarkable is somebody with as much drive and motor as you to actually balance to the empathy and the curiosity, in Mike's language, of the people, of the technicians, and bridging the gap between large vision and drive with the human side of things of the technicians. It's really inspiring.
Anybody else? Here you go. All right.
So we talked a little bit about, pardon me?
Stand up.
Oh, stand up.
She's actually as tall as Carl Anthony.
Yeah, I'm not very tall. I'm Jan Davies McDermott. I own a bed and breakfast here in town. We were talking about the rewards that the team receives and sharing that you presented. Did Andy get a bonus?
Just take the mics. Just don't be aggressive. Be bold. It's not the time to be quiet.
Nobody ever accused me of being quiet. That's right. And I've got my Center for Entrepreneurship swag on. All right. So I just thought it was great, the story about how you cultivated those connections out through the organization down to the lower levels. I saw that a lot in my military career. I've tried to do that, this idea of management by walking around, and how that gets you a vision that you're not going to get staying behind a desk. The phrase I love to teach is, you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And so being out, that was just I'm going to add your little story to my little repository when I teach that, because I think it's a good one. Yeah.
Stand up, please. Oh, you're not, sorry. Well, stand up. Who wants to talk? Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once?
I've got a good question. Thank you. You want to talk? Great.
Take that.
Well, he's going to ask his question. Yep.
Sure, I'll be very brief. First of all, I want to thank you, Robert, and Dr. Verbuchen for this great opportunity. Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to ask, because this is Leaders Connect. You know, we're all leaders in our community, leaders in business. And you talked early on in your presentation about morale, right? You said you never want your team to kind of get behind on the vision. So can you give us some advice for when a team is struggling to attain a certain goal or a certain mission? How do you keep them engaged?
So look, I'm not sure there's a magical bullet for that, but there's elements that go with it. So the first expectation, the first thing that I always believe is nobody should have to work harder than me. Like, I mean, kind of under any circumstance, that they need to understand nobody needs to work harder than me. And for example, when, like, I've had a number of projects where I had to work during the holidays, I'm sitting there too, not them alone. So for me, that kind of be an example is the first one. I think the second one is to see them too, right? Kind of like, if you're, like, it's perfectly fine to recognize, well, this is hard. Like, and it's harder than it normally is. You know, like, how do we do that? What I do then, though, is I cycle back to the why. Why are we doing this? I mean, I remember when, you know, like at the beginning of the Trump administration, the first one, when I was there, kind of, I just want to give you an example, right? I lived downtown and I walked across the mall to work. Before I hit the first office, two of my leadership team members had already quit. I basically said, I'm leaving. And basically what I did there, right, kind of, I basically sat down in a room and basically said, I just walked across the mall and I realized all these monuments. And it struck me that all the monuments are up there for people who were great during times of duress, not because it was easy. And I basically said, you should do whatever you want to. I will respect every one of you, but only in 48 hours. I'm not taking any discussion about anything, any decision now. And so for me, that's the other thing, like, be a damper to kind of emotional spikes, right? Kind of like sometimes it's like you have to know what's there, but they need to know you're in with them. But at the same time, you know, there's certain things we're not going to do. Like we're also not going to start with shortcuts. See, values are only manifest when it's tough. Like it's easy to walk around with a little card with values on it. The question is, when you're alone, under duress, is the way you're behaving still the values, right? Kind of, I mean, you know, like it's amazing, you know, we will not waver from that. And you know, like when people realize they're part of a great team, so many of them will step up and be great. I mean, I just really believe you get addicted to it, right? Kind of, and that's really what you want to build. And by the way, you're not going to be successful 100% of the time. Just get used to this. I mean, you know, if you're in the ambition game, you're not going to be successful 100% of the time, and that's okay.
Could you talk about that in nature? I mean, how you learn from, you know, how nature grows from mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that what it is, you know, whether it's biology or whether it's, I mean, just in general, right? Kind of failure is part, like death is part of life. Like the way a star was built that made the atoms that make life, another star had to die first, right? Because it had to come from the inside of the star to get built in the next one. And so for me, whether it's on the astrophysics side, but also the biology side, you know, the death is, you know, even though we're afraid of it, we're scared by it, it's an important part, a rejuvenating agent of nature. And for me, kind of when you're in the ambition game, I mean, for me, it really helps me understand, like, doing hard things, let's not pretend it's easy halfway through. Right? Kind of, I mean, it's really important to me that we talk about the project the same way at the beginning and at the end. Like I mean, what has been, I remember when we did the Mars helicopter, like we always said it's a risky project that may not work. And I remember we were on the surface of Mars and it did not work the first time. And I was scared, worried that the entire agency would descend and go into failure mode. And I took a plane and sat next to the Mimi Young is her name, the manager, and basically, you know, said, we're going live right now on you know, we're streaming live. And I did an interview with her, basically said, hey, how is it going? It's like, not so well. It's like, well, by the way, you have a helicopter on the surface of Mars. Who do you know whoever did that? It's like, so like, okay, you already achieved that. Like, oh, so what's the problem now? Well, we can't turn on the motor, right? And it's like, well, do you think you can? Yeah, we think we may be able to solve it. It's like, it's fine. Try your best, and I'm sure you can figure it out. But even if you can't, you already made history. And you know, for me, that shut off the, you know, let's not go into perfectionist mode. Just because we're so close to the game, kind of the PR team, hold them back. Like we're not perfect. Like let's talk about it as being hard. That's more authentic. By the way, the second time she turned on, the second time, the attempt, they made history. The kind of Wright brothers moment on Mars, right? The first controlled flight elsewhere, but it took 2 attempts and not the first one. So for me, it's really kind of stick with it, recognize it's hard. Don't pretend it's easy all of a sudden and treat people like it should be.
So how many times should I do that gotcha thing when they ask, you know, pick out the bridges and I can't do it right and then I do it again and keep going, right? So I know there's a couple of announcements, and Thomas, you're a big proponent, big fan of Ann Arbor. You keep coming back, you send your kids here. So you mind spending a few minutes just listening to some pitches that people have about things that are coming up? I know Chuck has got something to say. Chuck, where are you? Hey, Chuck, come on up. Chuck doesn't need the mic because he's a professional singer. He's part of 3 Men and a Tenor. Thank you. And you are the
Publisher.
You're not the tenor.
No, I'm a man, yeah.
A man. All right.
Yes. Good morning. So nice to be here with you. Boy, I'll tell you, we had the privilege at the Sun-Times News of doing an interview with Dr. Verbuchen a couple of years ago when he was here last year, and it was just absolutely marvelous, out of this world. Sorry for the pun. I'm here representing Dave Wettinger this morning in Office Evolution, which, of course, if you don't know, is a co-working space, really lovely place to work. There's a great community there. If you're looking for an office space, it is a fantastic place if you're, maybe 10 people or less and looking for the opportunity to grow your business. There are people who come in and go out, and it's quite a place. There are a couple of events coming up at Office Evolution that I want to draw your attention to, and there are these cards on your chairs. Many of you have these cards. First of all, Ken Fisher, who most of you probably know from University Musical Society, is going to be speaking, and there's a reception. He's got a book that's coming out. Everybody in, nobody out. And he's got a book signing that's taking place at Office Evolution on May 9th. So many of you know 4:55 on Fridays. It's sort of an open invitation if you've been to Office Evolution to go there. There's a reception that starts at 4:55. It is 455 East Eisenhower. That's how it got named, 455. But it also takes place at 455. So next week, next Friday, 4:55 is a reception for Ken Fisher at 4:55 to 7, and Ken is going to be speaking at 5:30. If you'd like to attend that, there's a QR code on the form. And then the next week on Wednesday, Ezra Zindler from LinkedIn is going to be here, and he's going to be talking about how to improve your LinkedIn game. How many of you have sadly deficient LinkedIn skills? It is the most neglected social media network, and probably one of the most important for you in business. So I do recommend that you take a look at this. There are many opportunities throughout that day to participate, some free, some paid, and this is Wednesday, May 14th. All of this taking place at Office Evolution. I'll be sticking around if you want to talk. Otherwise, grab one of these, and the QR codes are pretty self-explanatory.
And I just want to say that, first of all, Chuck is an amazing member of our community, and if I could let out a little secret, he's bringing the Sun-Times to Ann Arbor soon. So that's really exciting. We'll actually have a newspaper that tells us who won the Pioneer Huron game, and who died. So all those are important things, according to Thomas, who's born and who died. You got a newspaper right there if you just know those two things. And by the way, we're partnering with Office Evolution. So these are what's called Leaders Connect After Hours events. And we've got quite a few of them. Ken Fisher is a great friend. He's been in a men's group with me for many, many years. And so he's going to have his book and he's going to sign it. It's a book about his amazing years leading UMS and his stories about being with Leonard Bernstein and all kinds of amazing people, Yo-Yo Ma, and many people who I probably don't know. But check that out. And then I also just want to quickly, if the people are sponsored, would you stand up? I just want to shout out to our sponsors in Leaders Connect. Okay, so Ross, right, is from Bank of Ann Arbor. And have you announced your summer festival speakers? So play bands. Who's the big name that we shouldn't miss? Okay. The Bank of Ann Arbor is the model of supporting the community. And it brings us every summer thousands and thousands of people gather downtown to hear these amazing bands. I heard and saw Martha and the Vandellas there a couple years ago. And it was really amazing. Martha Wells is gone, but the other Martha. And then who else? Kemper, Ann Arbor Fitness Solution, one of our sponsors, and amazing personalized training, and now they're moving into the body-mind training as well. And Kemper has been one of our young leaders in the community. Matt Bowers, where's Matt? I saw Matt. Is Matt still here? He's gone. Varnum Law is one of our sponsors. Office Evolution. Is anybody here from Raymond? They're all on vacation because they're CPA firm, and they just worked 4 months straight, so they're now probably all in Tahiti or someplace like that with my money. All right, any other announcements? What we're going to do is wrap up, give you a chance to say hi to Thomas. One more? Oh, Eric? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and this is the last of Leaders Connect for this season. We'll pick up again probably in late August, maybe with a party. We might have like some Leaders Connect, meet at Mothfire for a happy hour some Tuesday, and so just get more of an informal. And if you have people that are amazing speakers like Thomas that you think should be included in this event, please let me know, because we're putting up the people who will speak next year and the panels we will have. We've had some amazing ones this year, many standouts. Am I forgetting anybody? I usually do. Oh, yes. Oh, stand up, Maria. Come on over here. You can use the
So you're launching rockets. I'm launching a new magazine here in Ann Arbor. And you talk about the importance of talking to the technicians. When you talk to the business community right now, it's more important than ever to be supporting our local community. And so that's what we're looking to do here with Ann Arbor City Lifestyle Magazine. It's out. You can Google it as well as AnnArborCityLifestyle.com. Really bringing home the stories, the events of the community, and really creating a platform for small businesses to reach their target audience on a monthly basis.
I understand you have a photo in there of two of the elderly male models in the community. You want to mention about that?
None other than Dr. Rob and Ken Fisher are in this, as well as Ari in the last one. We've had some amazing Leaders Connect where it's just such an Ann Arbor experience. When you think of music and arts as drivers in the local economy, when you think of Ari's lessons from a line cook, today, this is Ann Arbor at its core, and hoping that this magazine is as well, and really driving people out into the community. Thank you.
And Maria's done a great thing, and I'm looking forward to having my copy of this. Hey, would you sign it, please? I'm telling Thomas that I'm going to line him up with Ann Arbor T-shirt Company, because he needs merchandise, don't you think? So, I think you need somebody tailing with him to sign their cap. I got to get my NASA cap set. And, he could sign pictures, whatever, but I'm kidding, but Thomas would not do that. We do have a Leaders Connect store coming out, and we'll announce that very soon. Is Karen Tuttle here? Karen, yeah, Karen's launching that. She's a designer. What's your new title of your business? It's called, you're doing what? I love it. Fractional marketing manager. A functional fractional fun. If you can sell that, you could. Yeah, she'll give you a free quote of it. So anyway, amazing people here. Just amazing people. Yes, Deb. Yes, stand up.
Since we're talking about what's going on in the community, today is the last day of International Jazz Month. There's an awesome program tonight at the Carytown Concert House starring Vincent York, and he's got 4 guys playing with him that are just incredibly awesome musicians. So if you don't have anything to do tonight, support Ann Arbor Arts and come to the Carytown Concert House.
Thank you. And you notice she scheduled that on a non-Pistons night, so you could just go there, and then tomorrow we'll watch the Pistons beat the Knicks, because I hate the Knicks. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We're done. I got to do the time. It's time I promised Thomas he'd be out of here. He's got to catch a plane, 9:40. So I'm going to give a hard stop. But we are all welcome to stay around. Go by around the bar. It's open to non-alcoholic or alcoholic drinks. And also you could grab a table. Sierra, it's open for you guys. But we need to boogie out of here because they're going to set it up for lunch. So if we can move it out quickly. And thank you, Thomas. Sorry I didn't give everybody else time, but we are happy to have everybody here. See you in the fall.